So apart from the technical skills, there is the exposure. So this is now exposing the students to industry. So this is through job shadowing, through mentorship, through exposure visits to organizations, and through sessions like this, where we bring industry leaders to talk to students and explain to them, this is how it works, this is how my experience has been, this is how my journey has been, and this is what we foresee the future of work being, how it's going to be. So I want to ask you all, students, that you are attentive and that you ask questions, relevant questions, because indeed the way we phrased this, the theme of this talk is about the future of work. Because as you all know, COVID has come, it has changed quite a lot of things. Different modes of working. Initially, people used to drop CVs. These days, companies are headhunting, companies have specific ways of recruiting. Different institutions will have different methods. Some will start with graduate internships, management trainees, and take on a cohort and train them, and then out of that cohort, onboard them. So things are going to keep changing. The way your social media interactions are tracked by potential employers just to find out what kind of a person you are. All of these are dynamics that used to not be there a couple of years ago. So be attentive. The future of work is not just for IT students. We have seen this a lot, that everything is becoming technologically advanced, and it seems that it's only people within the IT space are going to survive the future of work, which is again not true. So be attentive, especially if you are a student that is not in the IT space. You need to find out, how does the future of work, digitally enhanced as it is, how is it going to affect you, and how do you mold yourself to fit into it? So with those remarks, thank you, Val. I will take this back to you for the next topic.
Thank you, Steve, for the quick summary of what we do and a quick advice to the students as well. I take this pleasure to invite the next speaker, Mr. Peter Gatel, COO of Standard Chartered Bank, East Africa region. Please come in, sir.
Right. Thank you. And good morning and good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning, and I thank you for organizing this call. As I've been introduced, my name is Peter Gatel. I'm responsible for operations for Standard Chartered Bank in East Africa. In East Africa, we cover the 3 markets of Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. One of the things that we've been very keen on is to have this kind of sessions. As a bank globally, we have an initiative called the Future Makers initiative. It's our way of community engagement, and we use that initiative to support the youth to learn and grow. So this is really key and part of what we do as a bank. It's an honor today to have a few people from our group offices, and particularly David Whiting, our group COO, and we'll hear from him shortly. So I was asked a question on the future of work, and what does that really mean? And I thought it's actually an oxymoron. When something is in the future, you actually don't know what it is by definition. So I thought to take a step back and went back a few years back and looked at what was being talked about then as a future of work. So about 5 years ago, an article was written on artificial intelligence, machine learning, automation, outsourcing, the gig economy, and all these were items that were being portrayed as a future of work, and the direction was looking like that's where it will go. And the concerns then were, will there be enough work available for people? Will people earn a living wage? What will happen? Will machines take over? And if you look at the development since 2017, particularly as Stephen Jenga has said this morning with COVID last year, all these things have been accelerated. As a bank, when the pandemic started here in Kenya, one of the key things that we saw helped us really be resilient as a business was technology. We were able to move our transactions, our customers, and our customer interactions online in a very short period of time. We were fortunate that we had the right systems, and obviously our strategy was right in terms of digitization. But we're also able to move our staff to work remotely, which was key to protect our staff's health and safety. And if you take a step back to the Kenyan economy and you look at what has been happening here, I think there is a big alignment on those things that were being talked about 5 years ago and what we are seeing today because of COVID. COVID has really accelerated a lot of things. Jenga talked about how do people hire today, and what do employers look for, and is your social media profile important for you professionally? So things have changed over time. In Kenya today, we've got what I would call quite a digital economic platform, and therefore that plays very well with what I would call the future of work and the skills that are required. If you look at investment in digital ecosystems in Kenya, we talk about annual investments of $350 million, which about 35 billion every year is pumped into fintech startups. Mobile phone penetration is at 98%. We've got about 55 million mobile phone subscribers. We have 23 million internet users. So the platform, as far as technology is concerned, is quite robust. There are a lot of marketplaces where people can, young people and experienced businesses can place their goods, and all this converges and into a digital sort of economy, which is really powered by some of the infrastructure that the government is building. So what do I conclude for the skills that I think one needs? I would talk about technical skills. Yes, machine learning, deep learning, artificial intelligence skills, qualitative and quantitative analysis skills. Those are important skills to have going forward, because there's a lot of reliance on data. There's a lot of reliance on efficiencies and having efficient businesses. User experience. At the end of the day, one will always be running a business which has customers. So how do you understand your customers and create experiences that are appropriate for them? Agile project and people management skills is another area. Digital marketing skills. If everything is going online, then how do you make your presence felt? How do you design your products, and how do you design your design thinking around your products? Financial management skills. At the end of the day, every business that you do is a business. So understanding financial management skills is quite important. And finally, what I think I found very powerful is the ability of bringing things together to tell a story. Whenever we have these conversations, people ask, okay, so there's so much that needs to be learned. How do I get all these skills? How do I progress? And I want to close with a story of a Kenyan athlete called Julius Yego. For those who know Julius Yego was the first Kenyan athlete to win a field event. So Kenyans are very known for winning track events, running, etc. So Julius Yego won a gold medal in the 2014 Commonwealth Games and the 2015 World Championships, and a silver in the 2016 Olympics in a sport that I believe he was the first Kenyan to bring to the spotlight, which was the javelin. And Julius Yego has this unique way of throwing the javelin, where he throws it and flies with it and then lands just before the line. When Julius Yego was asked, where did you learn your skill? Julius Yego said, from YouTube. And he created this persona about him as a YouTube athlete. A lot of the skills are going to be learned through self-learning. There are a lot of resources available, either directly at institutions of learning or indirectly. But as Julius Yego proved, you can actually go out there, learn a skill by yourself through self-learning and perfect that skill. I'll stop there so that I can give some time for others, and it gives me privilege to invite our group COO, David Whiting. David Whiting is a proponent of the future of work and different skills, and a great proponent of self-learning. So over to you, David. Appreciate you sharing your thoughts with us.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks for that very interesting set of insights and perspectives. Yeah, the question that was sort of asked for me was, as we think about the future of work, and is it going to exclude some people who maybe don't have a STEM background, and do we worry about a world that's seeing an increased level of automation, and therefore, do people have a role in that? And it's, as a parent, it's definitely something you wonder about, to make sure that you are giving your children some appropriate advice and setting them up for hopefully success and happiness, and not disappointment and depression. So from my perspective, I think Peter did a fantastic job talking through some of the well-known technical skills and capabilities, and on an articulation that that there's a wide range of places that people can go and experience and enjoy, and find something that is aligned to their preferences and their skills. There are a few things that I'd probably encourage people to think about at a slightly broader level. One is, if you're going to work in any organization, I think being very, very focused on who's your customer and key stakeholder, and what's the purpose of your role in supporting them. I think, everyone who wants to have a successful career, wants to do interesting work, wants to be at the forefront of whatever it is they're doing. The surest way for that to happen, in my experience, is to have a high sensitivity to customer need, a real focus on what the customer is asking for, what they think they need, what they want, how they are responding and interacting with your product or your service. And the people that are alert to that and have high integrity in saying when their product or service doesn't meet that need, that they need to change and evolve, will always be busy. So my experience is people who are asking questions about customers, focusing on customers, and then having the authentic dialogue internally as to whether their proposition meets it, and if not, how they're going to evolve it, are constantly the ones that arrive at places where their goods and services are sought by customers at levels that are greater than anyone else. So that level of willingness to focus on others and the curiosity to inspect what your offering is definitely part of that. And that curiosity for me is a wider skill, and a curiosity that then says, you know, have I got the right skills to answer this question? If I haven't got the right skills, how do I go and bring those skills into my team so that they're part of it? Or how do I go and learn from others to acquire the necessary elements of those skills? And so you constantly evolve and change. And an example of that is in a team that I ran in my previous job, not in my current one. You know, we had a small team that was doing essentially working with a bunch of economic behavioralists and some psychologists. They were technical people, but they were working with people that had spent a large portion of their training developing their skills in social sciences. And essentially they were building experiments and interactions with customers to drive and nudge customer behavior in a direction that wasn't obvious, but actually, when successful, was highly aligned to what the customer need was. And in a number of cases, it was a customer need that the customer hadn't actually been able to articulate. So it doesn't matter how many focus groups we'd run, how many interviews we'd conducted, we would never have arrived at some of the solutions that these teams came up with. And these teams were exceptionally diverse. You know, they had deep technologists, but they also had social scientists and, as I said, psychologists and behavioral economists involved in it. So I'm a big believer through that experience that the successful businesses of the future and successful organizations of the future will be ones that have that diversity. Now, you will always have an element of a core skill that becomes the predominant skill in the business. You need engineers and software engineers, or if you're in a building company, you need civil and mechanical engineers. If you're in a pharmaceutical company, you'll need chemists and biologists. But outside of that core skill, there is a huge need for other diverse skills. And this is where I think for those of you that are sitting there feeling that your experience in your training might not be in a particular area, and therefore in a world that's becoming more digitized, more dependent on technology, more automated, what's my role? And I wouldn't give up hope. I think your role is to find those unique places in the ecosystem, in the teams, where your insight and your perspective is sufficiently diverse that it causes a good conversation. It inspires that curiosity. It inspires that willingness to try something different. And by virtue of your dialogue, your interaction, your contribution, the team that you work with comes at something that it might not have considered if you were not there. And I think that's the role that we should all embrace. And in order to do that, as I said at the beginning, I put a lot of store in people that are curious to learn new stuff, curious to inquire, curious to explore how they build their own knowledge base, and constantly on that journey of learning. And with that curiosity, I think you need to have a humility of assuming and expecting that you're probably going to be more wrong than you're going to be right. And so people who hold their ideas lightly, hold their positions lightly, explore with others the possibilities, and then recognize where they need to change their position or their framework or their knowledge as a consequence of that exploration, and then evolve to something different, are more likely to be the successful ones, because that constant shape changing and willingness to adapt and adjust to the context and the need and the customer requirement is going to drive the success for people in the future. So for me, it's all of those things, you know, a willingness to be curious, comfortable about understanding what you bring, but in a willingness to adapt and change in the face of better understanding or better knowledge. And that's the key part from my perspective. So, you know, I see a world where the human interaction will be increasingly important. As we become more digitized, we will be able to adjust and focus our products and services down to much, much smaller groups of people and personas. And with that becomes more jobs to interpret and understand, so that we're able to have those unique experiences as we go through life. And in the end, we remain social creatures, and that social interaction, that ability to connect and touch and participate will become very important as we go forward. And I think as we look at the challenges in COVID, how we design these collaborative technologies, how we use these collaborative technologies, and how we might take advantage of some of the AI that comes with these collaborative technologies to enhance and amplify the human experience is an exciting place for us to explore in the next 2 to 3 years as we continue to work in this way. So that's the perspective that I would add to what Peter's already done, and I'll pause there and hand over to the next speakers.
Thank you very much, David. When Peter and David, so when you were talking about all these skills, one thing that I was thinking about is, are all these skills even taught in the university, and how would we expect young graduates who are just coming off the university to actually have all of them? And I think you've summed it up, you've answered my question by mentioning the YouTube athlete. And that also ties very well to the point that you've mentioned, David, which is about curiosity. And as much as you do not have these technical skills, with help of curiosity and that kind of mindset, you can start learning them very quickly. Thank you very much. That was super insightful. Without wasting a lot of time, I would like to hand over to the next speaker, Blessing. Blessing is a software engineer at Microsoft. Blessing, please go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Blessing, and I'm a software engineer with Microsoft. I'm super excited to be here this morning to share my thoughts on the future of technology. So as I was given the topic to talk about my career into tech, I was reflecting back on when I was a final year student at the University of Lagos studying systems engineering. I had no clue about what I wanted to do with my life after school. And because my field of study had so many connection points, until one day I attended a class on artificial intelligence, and the lecturer at that time explained artificial intelligence in the most simplest way, which is widening the range of things that a computer can do. And that was where I decided I was going to pursue a career in artificial intelligence. But after I graduated, I didn't know how to start or where to even begin from. So I reached out to the lecturer who taught me the course, and he introduced me to my first programming language, Python. So I am actually a self-taught developer, and he shared a couple of video resources with me that I started learning. And then I also started taking some courses on Codecademy and started working on simple projects like a fashion web application, a Python web application for putting identify DDoS attack on the map. Because I realized that some of these projects that I was going to build was going to be very important for me to be able to showcase my skills when I actually attend an interview, right? So afterwards, I continued to learn how to code while working as a technical support engineer. And then one day, as a community group where I joined, I saw an opportunity for a female software developer. Then I had no professional work experience at that time, but because I was brave, I decided to apply for the role, and I drafted a very interesting cover letter showing the project I had built based off on what I'd learned, that's the Python programming. And I went through like a series of interviews, and I was eventually offered the role. Now you might be wondering why I'm sharing this story with you. I can relate to where you are now as a student who is looking out for, okay, how do I start? How do I even begin? What is the opportunity that's going to be for me when I graduate from the university? And there's this vast technology that you can actually be a part of Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, machine learning. You're trying to figure out which particular area you want to go into, and you're figuring out, okay, how do I even get the job in the first place? So one of the key things that you need to first of all identify is you need to create an action plan on where you are at now as a student. To prepare for the job market, you need to identify the necessary skills, like David White and John had said. You need to identify a programming language that you can learn, because many of this technology requires you to actually be able to use this programming language to be able to build them in the end. So identifying a simple programming language like Python will be very easy for you. And those are some of the languages that are being used in a place like Microsoft. And C# is also one language that is used. And also create an action plan around how you want to actually get hired in a big tech company. And one of the things that you can also do is also working on projects. As you are learning, you need to identify projects, simple projects that you can build while you're in school. Maybe collaborate with people to build those projects. And also, you also need to also be prepared. Learn data structures and algorithms. Many of these tech companies like Microsoft requires you to have an understanding of data structures and algorithms when you are applying for the role, because those are the kind of questions that will be asked in all your coding interviews. So, and there are specific sites where you can actually learn all these things. You can learn from Algo Expert. Algo Expert is very beginner friendly. When I was learning about data structures and algorithm, I was able to learn from Algo Expert. And also, you also need to be in the community. My first job as a software engineer, I actually got it in the community that I belong to. So you can attend meetups, and in those meetups, you get to meet like-minded people who are also in the same journey with you, And finally, I would like you to just take action. Believe in yourself. You don't have to be perfect before you start. Even as a graduate, you can actually get a job in Microsoft. And Microsoft is looking to hire about 500 software engineers in the year 2023. Right now, we're at about 200, and that gives you an opportunity to be part of the next 300 engineers that would currently be hired. We're also hosting a Build Tech Career Conference that is happening today and tomorrow. You can join and you can be part of the conference tomorrow, where you get to meet the recruiters and learn about different roles that are currently in Microsoft. So I wish you all the best in your career. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm available to answer any other questions you may have around software engineering and the likes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Blessing. That was it's wonderful to know that you're also self-taught. It's so inspiring to see that you can take your career in your own hands and you do not need to blame it on the university or your background or anything else. Thank you very much. I would love to invite the next guest, Lorna. Lorna is a philanthropies lead at Microsoft in Kenya. Lorna, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Pravalika. And thank you as well to the Standard Charter team for organizing this event and for having us from the Microsoft team to attend. I think it's really great to have such events for young people, just to support them to navigate today's work environment. So I think to start, I was requested to share how I got into Microsoft. So currently, I'm the philanthropies lead at Microsoft, which means I support our CSR activities within Kenya and within East Africa. So I would say all of this probably started when I was unemployed. And it was in my period of unemployment that I decided I want to work in programs that support youth. And so at that point, during my unemployment, that's when I really found the exact thing I want to do with my career. And so after that, I joined a company that works in career and entrepreneurship skills building. I was there for about 4 years. And during the 4th year, I got this job that was sent to me by a friend of mine, and he said, this seems like exactly what you're doing right now. I think you should apply for it. And so at the time, I didn't even know it was Microsoft, but it was. And so I looked at the job description and it fit me perfectly. So I reworked my CV, I sent it through, and actually for some time, I didn't hear anything about it, so I almost forgot about it. And then one time I got the message, okay, we want to interview you. We're from Microsoft and this is the role. And I just panicked because I had no idea it was, such a big company. And suddenly, I started doubting myself and whether I could really fit into the role. But usually whenever I feel such doubts creeping in, I counter them with preparation. So then I prepared for the interview. I researched as much as I could on Microsoft and what they were doing in philanthropies. I also did something that I do when I'm preparing for interviews, which is like list all my achievements. So it gives you a boost of confidence, and it kind of prepares you for the interview, because for sure they're going to ask you, tell us about yourself and tell us about some of the things you've been able to do in your career. So I did, I think, 2 interviews, and I got the news that I had joined, I got the job. And so the reason why I started from my unemployment, and it's because all of those steps led me to join Microsoft. I wouldn't say it's one particular thing. Then suddenly I was in the company, It was a combination of figuring out what I wanted to do, because even the work I do now is supporting youth to get the skills they need for jobs. And the job that I got right before is what helped me build the skills that I needed to do the work that I'm doing now. So your career is sort of like a series of steps that you keep building on. And every single thing that you do, it contributes to you in some kind of way. Even the bad experiences, they help you learn something about yourself, about other people, about how to navigate difficult situations. So everything leads up to your career. So that's why when people ask me how I got in, I always say it's a long story. And even the one I've given is sort of the abridged version. So in Microsoft, I would say, at least from where I work in the philanthropies team, I would say the things that we look at mostly is, first of all, the skills. Do you have the skills for the job? It doesn't matter whether it's a tech job, a sales job, a marketing job, philanthropies. First, do you have the skills for the job? Then secondly, and I'm talking about not the technical skills, like digital marketing, sales skills, and so on. And then now we have the soft skills. So number one, are you proactive? When a problem comes up, will you take the initiative to solve it? Do you have problem solving skills? Are you able to work in a team? Are you able to manage your own time? Things like that now kind of build your entire set of skills. So now you have your technical skills, and then you have the soft skills. So within the philanthropies team, we focus a lot on helping young people to develop the skills they need for today's work environment. So as Mr. Gatel mentioned, there are a number of skills that you need to have in today's age. And the thing is, they're continuously changing. So like World Economic Forum puts out this report where it says the future of work in the next 5 years. And so every 5 years, they put out a new report just because it keeps changing. And in line with this, it means that you constantly need to be learning new skills to keep up with the demand of today's work environment. And so some of the skills that they mentioned in their most recent report that goes up to 2025. So the skills that you need up to 2025, they mentioned analytical thinking and innovation. As Mr. Gatel mentioned, active learning and learning strategies, technology use, monitoring and control, which basically means being able to use technology, being able to use a computer programs, the internet. And they also mentioned resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. So these are just some of the skills, but you can see it's a combination of soft skills and a bit of technical skills. So you don't have to be the next, expert programmer, but you at least need to know how to use technology. So in the philanthropies department, we have 3 main platforms that we currently have where young people can get the skills that they need for the future. So the first one is called Future-Ni Digital. So I'll post the links in the chat after I finish. So the first one is Future-Ni Digital, where you can get basic digital skills and entrepreneurship training. It's free to access. You just need to sign in with your email and you can start learning. The second one is called the Global Skills Initiative. So this one has a strong focus on soft skills and technical skills. So they put together learning courses based on the 10 most in-demand jobs on LinkedIn. And so the learning is actually hosted on LinkedIn. So you can learn skills such as software development, sales representative. So these are the roles which you'll be learning for. Project management skills, IT admin, customer service, digital marketing, IT support, data analyst. So you can take these courses for free up to December 31st of this year. So if you want to be involved, you need to get started right away. And finally, we have Microsoft Learn. So this one I would say is more for the techies. So here you can learn things like advanced Azure, you can learn advanced programming. You can also get certifications for specific Microsoft products such as Azure, and these certifications will now help you to get employed in those specific areas. So I'll post the links in the chat after I'm finished, but that's all I have for today. So thank you so much for having me here today, and I welcome any questions that you may have. I believe we're having those at the end of the talks, but thank you.
Yes, indeed. We will have, I hope we will have a little bit of time, but if not, we will record all the questions here. And if you can leave your LinkedIn details, then the students can reach out to you with a question, if any. Next, thank you very much, Lorna. Love your quote that I think Anthony also posted, which is, if you have fear, you overcome it with a lot of preparation. I think that's a good takeaway. All of us have been in interviews where we have cold feet and suddenly we start stammering out of nowhere. So that's a good one. I would like to welcome the next speaker for today, which is Ellie Warner. Ellie is the global head of training and awareness. Specifically, her expertise lies in data and data analysis, privacy, and all of those techie things, which is the future. And also she's very passionate about women in tech. So Ellie, we would love to hear from you more. We welcome you. I think you're muted, Ellie. You still, yes. I can't hear you. You're not muted, but we cannot hear you. No luck. Ellie, we still cannot hear you. Probably you're joining from another device. All right. So Ellie, while you fix the sound issue, I think I would like to ask one of the questions that we've received, starting with, I think, David. We received a question about the company culture of Standard Chartered Bank, and you talked a lot about curiosity and learning and customer centricity and having unique selling points. So, David, I would like to hear from you what the company culture of Standard Chartered Bank is and how you foster these skills within the organization.
Yeah, it's probably important to recognize that the culture that I talk about and the things that I think are important as advice to people that are at the beginning of their careers shouldn't necessarily mean that that's exactly the culture we've been able to create. So, you know, there's an aspirational culture and a reality. And I think it's important to recognize that every culture is a flow. You know, it was something, it is moved to something else, and it's going to somewhere else. And we're merely talking about a point in time. But certainly at a macro level, you know, our culture talks a lot about being here for good and making sure that we are focused on doing the right thing and not settling until we get those things right. These are fantastic values that are important to us, and I think you know, are very, very relevant in the context of a contemporary way of working. Like any culture, though, the thing I'd probably warn is that we could look at all the positive sides of it, but there are also some negative sides if we let these things continue unattended. And so an example of, never settle and do the right thing might be inadvertently, and I think this exists a little bit in Standard Chartered, is a culture of trying to be precise and right and not to take any risks, and therefore things can slow down. And one of the things that we're trying to instill in the ways of working, where we're trying to set an example of, we can make mistakes, we can't get it precisely right, we do things in smaller increments to learn more quickly, and when we get better information, we pivot and adjust. To me, that fits into do the right thing and never settling. But for others, who become used to a different way and are much more bureaucratic and slower, we need to demonstrate these contrasts in order to get people to be more in the way that we want, because you can quite see how at a meta level we both might agree with the alignment of what the culture is, but at a macro level in terms of how we do stuff, it might vary. So I just look at culture as something that's constantly has to be worked on. It's constantly in a state of flow. And I always describe culture, it's a little bit like, where I've come from in Australia, the Barrier Reef. The Barrier Reef operates in a very delicate environment. It has to have very precise temperature and very precise pH conditions. And if those get out of whack, the reef dies. And I think culture is like that. It has to be attended to very carefully. And it is often a very narrow band in which it operates. And if you're outside of those bands, it can die or it can become toxic. And so it's really, really important to maintain that. But for us, it's that constant desire to evolve, learn, go again, and speed up that cycle is a big part of the culture that we're trying to create.
Thank you very much. I think
I
it's
don't know
all
if you
those...
can hear me now. I'm going to do another sound test.
Yes, so we can hear you very clearly.
Super. I'm showing as presenter now the joys of technology. So do you want me to do a quick summary in about 4 or 5 minutes?
Please do. Please do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, look, it really is an honor to be here, and especially to follow Blessing and Lorna's presentation on a career in cyber. So I will hope to do that justice, but a big thank you to you all. So for any of you that might be considering a career in cybersecurity or data and privacy, I'd like to just kind of add on a few points from Blessing and Lorna's presentations around why that might be so relevant to today's society. So if we look at the cost of cybercrime today, we know that it's becoming a growing problem in society. We know the cost of cybersecurity is growing significantly. And we all, those of us that work in cybersecurity and data and privacy and resilience, have a fantastic opportunity to actually be part of the solution. We think 5 years ago, the cost of cybercrime was about $500 billion. This year, not even taking into consideration all the COVID impact, we're looking at about $6 trillion. So it's really important that we all do what we can to sort of help be part of that solution. And we have an incredible cyber skills shortage that I think we've referred to previously. We have it this year, there's meant to be about 3 million roles unfilled globally across the cybersecurity data privacy field, including developers. So that is for anyone that's listening to this and anyone like Blessing or Lorna that want to follow in their fantastic footsteps and consider that. We are welcoming it. You're pushing on an open door when it comes to cybersecurity. So I want to build off something that Lorna said about not self-selecting out. I'm a really good example of that. I came from an arts background. I moved into do my postgraduate degree in computer science. I did a master's quite a while ago before there was even anything called cybersecurity, and been working in technology sales for about 20 years. And even when I got the call to join the bank for cybersecurity, I questioned myself. I thought, well, I've been in technology for 20 years, but do I have the specific cybersecurity skills that are needed? And the fact is that a cyber career can be a career for anybody. It's not only important for you that are watching and listening, but also it's really important for our industry as well, that we get a diverse set of talent, of background, of thought, of gender. David's talked about culture. It means better products, it means better services, it means better, customer experience, and it means that we work so much better as teams. I'm going to give you a very brief snapshot of the type of people that are in the bank that work in cybersecurity. And these are just the people that I know and that I've reached out to ahead of today. So we have army officers, we have soldiers, we have musicians, we have law enforcement, political scientists, auditors, journalists, developers, threat intel, secure coders. I mean, the list goes on. We have, I believe, 99 official roles in the bank as part of our Skills Academies program. That's excluding specific data and privacy ones. So for any of you that might be sitting there thinking, I don't have the specific skills, you do. So let's talk about the type of skills as well that might work in cyber. We've talked about customer experience, we've talked about that curiosity, but we've also talked about complex problem solving. And we often talk about in cyber that it's a business problem, it's not an IT problem. And the faster we can have people in the industry that understand that and that could be part of a business conversation, the better customer service we're going to give as well. So a huge skill that we're looking for is those soft skills that I think Blessing referred to. So business acumen, you know, if we think about secure coding, every product that we create in the bank, you know, every application that we develop, we've got to do secure by design. We want to make sure that all our application developers and our architects and our engineers are doing everything by design from a security point of view. We want to make sure that people working in corporate banking are transferring funds to the right people and not to the people that say they are, that might be scammers. We want to make sure that people in branch centers or in contact centers aren't giving out customers information on the phone. Something else, another skill that people have referred to is that that ability and that also curiosity about solving challenges and understanding problems. A huge part of our role, whether it's David, Kripa, myself, Peter, is about meeting with the business stakeholders or our customers and understanding what their problems are. So I just really just want to echo what they've my previous speakers have said about don't self-select out. Think about those transferable skills that you might have, business acumen, communications. Definitely you're going to need a whole word of resilience. We've all learned a lot about resilience the last 18 months, but even more in our daily jobs, we all have to be incredibly resilient and open-minded when we're talking with customers and our stakeholders about trying to help them go about doing their daily business, but doing it in a safe and secure way. So I want to just finish off briefly with 5 myths that often associate a career in cybersecurity or data and privacy. I'm going to do them in 2 minutes really, really quickly. The first one is that cyber is a force for bad. We know that there are threat actors out there and hackers that are causing insurmountable damage to critical infrastructure and to people. But the fantastic opportunity for all of you today is you can actually be part of a solution. You can help protect families, you can help protect our clients, you can help protect yourselves, your children, and all sort of be part of a very, very real world problem. The WEF today says that out of the top 10 global risks that face the planet today, including climate change and natural disasters such as COVID, 3 of those top 10 relate to cybersecurity and data and privacy. So if you want to explore a career that's genuinely going to have a real impact every day on the planet and the people around you, then a career in cybersecurity could look like that. Second myth is we're the no guys. Yeah, we're not. We're actually business enablers. We want to help the business do their job securely and safely. We want people to be able to transfer money, protect our customers' wealth safely. So actually, all of our conversations start with how can we help rather than saying no. And then a final myth I just want to mention before we wrap up is, you know, about technical skills. You've talked a lot about that. There is a vast array of skills requirements in the cybersecurity and data and privacy world. Some of them, yes, are very technical, but as all the speakers have spoken about, many of them are not. It's those soft skills, it's those business skills, it's that problem solving, that curiosity, that communication skills that really come to play. My final challenge is for any women that are listening on this. We know that we have to do better as an industry. We know that about 80% of the cybersecurity workforce today is men. We know that we're doing a disservice to our customers by not having diversity of thought and ideas and gender. So please don't self-select out. There are multiple job opportunities within cybersecurity, and be a Blessing, be a Lorna, follow their footsteps, and don't self-select out. We've got so much untapped talent out there today. Please come and have a conversation with us or with Microsoft, and just wish you all the very best in any career that you do end up having. So thank you.
Thank you, Ellie, for the quick and brief, precise points on how young people can participate more in the world of IT and how a career in IT looks like. And I love the special emphasis you gave on cybersecurity and how working in tech and also making the world a better place, they just come together in that particular aspect. Thank you very much. I have seen one question on the chat that talks about the top 3 skills a young person from who's pursuing their career in IT would have, and I would direct this question to Blessing. According to you, what are the top 3 skills if a young graduate that need to have to pursue a career in IT?
Thank you very much, Elvi, for that question. So I think one of the top 3 skills that you would need to have to pursue a career in tech is problem solving, how you approach problems, and how you are able to also creatively think about solutions to problems, right? And how to actually use your tool, which is your programming language, to solve that problem. So given like a very, very simple problem, right? Let's say I want to build an application or a portal that can help me to know the number of people in a particular community, right? It's a very simple problem. So as a problem solver, I have to think about how I can break down that problem and think about it also from the customer's perspective, how they're going to use that solution, and then now think about how I can use my tool of trade with us, which is maybe the language I've learned, either Python or C# or JavaScript or Java, to actually build such a solution. So software engineers are creative problem solvers, and they are system designers. So those are some skills that you need to categorically like improve on as a software engineer and as a graduate. But most importantly, code, which is very, very, very key and important.
Thank you very much, Blessing, for that. And I don't know how time flies, but we are almost done. We are at the end of the career talk for now. I would like to thank the team that made this happen. I would like to start with the Standard Chartered Bank staff, Nima, Anthony, Kripa, Eugene. Thank you so much for supporting us and planning the whole career talk. Thank you, David. Thank you, Peter. And thank you, Ellie from Standard Chartered, for participating in that, taking time out to come here and talk to our students. Thank you, Microsoft team, Blessing, Lorna, and Magnus. Thank you very much for making this a success. And finally, thank you, Light for the World team, Jane, Sylvia, Dennis. Thank you very much. And Steve, of course, for taking time out. Thank you, Byron, for being our interpreter for today. I think that's the time that we have for today. As I'll keep telling students the same thing again. Please keep your questions coming. Be curious. Talk to the leaders that have spoken to you right now, and ask the right questions. And I think you will get a response from them. So that's all I'm going to say for today. Thank you very much, students, for taking your time out and joining us today. We will see you in the next career talk. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Have a good day.